Nickelodeon has definitely seen better days. For years we've had the same old generic sitcoms recycled over and over again, mediocre cartoons that don't seem to die, and cringe-worthy advertising plaguing what was once a great network. And don't think I'm just being a nostalgia-obsessed 90s kid. Classic Nickelodeon wasn't perfect either, and modern Nickelodeon is bad for other reasons besides the fact that it is new. But despite its mediocrity, over the years, the network has made efforts to improve their animation. But for every creative show like Harvey Beaks, we get a show that is barf in every way like Pig, Goat, Banana, Cricket. But we're not here to talk about those shows. Today, we're discussing The Loud House, a brand new creation from the mind of Chris Savino. He's worked on everything from Ren and Stimpy and Samurai Jack to Johnny Test and directed seasons 5 and 6 of the Powerpuff Girls. But with all that in mind, is the Loud House at just the right volume, or does it need to be muted? Let's take a look. Want to see the rest of the review? Well, you have two options to do so. You can continue to watch the video to hear an audio-only version, or you can click the link in the description to watch the review with clips on Dailymotion. The reason behind this change in format is that I'd rather not get a copyright strike on this channel. I hope that you guys can still enjoy the review despite the different format. So without further ado, here's my review of The Loud House. The Loud House centers around a family with 1 boy and 10 girls. Having so many people living under one roof can turn the simplest of tasks, such as trying to get to the bathroom, into a complete nightmare. This is a slice of life show, a kind of relatable and down-to-earth cartoon that seems to be dying out. They used to be almost everywhere, but nowadays many cartoons have traded realistic elements for fantasy. Our protagonist is the lone boy of the family, 11-year-old Lincoln Loud. Lincoln is your average kid who tries to live his life the best he can in his chaotic family. He tries to control the chaos of his sisters, usually to benefit himself. That description of Lincoln makes him sound selfish, but the audience gets to see why Lincoln does what he does via fourth wall breaking monologue. This makes the character come off as much more likable and relatable. Additionally, for better or for worse, every episode ends with Lincoln learning his lesson, and he has to compromise with his sisters in order to help his whole family out. I'm not a huge fan of all of the show's episode endings. Lincoln never gets a complete happy ending, even when he really deserves it. For example, in the episode Project Loud House, Lincoln wants to arrive to class on time in order to turn in a school project. While Lincoln is driven to help his sisters by his own needs, he still goes the extra mile to make sure that they're all happy. But after all he does, Lincoln's project is destroyed and his sisters have to help him out. I understand that this show is trying to demonstrate that life isn't perfect and that things don't always go the way they were planned, but the episode just forces Lincoln to lose, and that makes episodes like Project Loud House and a few others pretty disappointing. Lincoln's sisters, Luann, Lenny, Lori, Luna, Lynn, Lucy, Lisa, Lola, Lily, and Lana all have basic one-note personalities. Lori is the bossy teen. Lenny isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Luna is obsessed with music. Luann is a prankster that makes corny jokes. Lynn is obsessed with sports. Lucy is emo. Lana is a tomboy and obsessed with everything gross. Lola is a self-obsessed brat and Lana's twin sister. Lisa is a child prodigy and Lily is a baby. None of the sisters' personalities really stretch beyond these traits, but it's understandable. The show has so many characters, and it only started recently, so it makes sense that not everyone is going to be extremely developed. So far, The Loud House has handled its simple characters really well. While the personalities of the girls are forced in your face at times, I found that as I watched more of the show, the characters began to grow on me. The conflicts in The Loud House are usually problems that involve the whole Loud family, which leads to all the sisters getting a good amount of screen time in each episode. As simple as they are, this show treats all of its characters like actual people, and has even started to develop them. For example, in the episode Sleuth or Consequences, we learn that the emo girl Lucy actually has a soft side. Lucy's also my favorite sister, by the way.
I've got a poem for you now. It's called Lucy. Dark as night, hair like tar. Take your spooky self to the car.
Sigh. Once again, your poetic brilliance has put me to shame.
One recurring character on this show is Lincoln's best friend, Clyde. Clyde gives Lincoln advice, helps him carry out his plans, and has a crush on the oldest sister, Lori. Clyde has only appeared in a handful of episodes so far, and he didn't leave much of an impact on me. I found him to have a few enjoyable moments, but his constant pining for Lori got on my nerves quickly. Two other major characters are the loud parents, but they hardly get much screen time, since this cartoon does that thing where they don't show the faces of parents or more mature characters. Although this joke can be done well on occasion, it usually just annoys me. I understand that the show wants to mainly focus on Lincoln and his sisters, but why not flesh out the parents and make the show more about the family as a whole? While I'm not the biggest fan of what was done with the parents, I can understand why they did what they did. And at least they acknowledge the parents every few episodes, instead of having you wonder where they could possibly be all the time. Outside of everyone I've mentioned so far, there really aren't many other characters on the show. There were the super lame biker kids from one episode, Lincoln's teacher, whose face is shown even though she's an adult, Lori's boyfriend Bobby, and a few nameless students. But none of these characters made much of an impact on me. As they are, the characters in the Loud House are likable and pretty relatable. They're nothing extraordinary, but for a slice of life show, they get the job done. In an era where almost every cartoon looks like another, or looks completely terrible, it's a breath of fresh air to see the Loud House. I would describe the art style as a mix between The Fairly Odd Parents and a comic strip in the Sunday newspaper. The characters are long and detailed, and the backgrounds have big ink marks and a paper-like filter over them. It's very stylized and unique, but it still looks appealing. The comic strip aesthetic even extends to the title cards, which list all of their credits in word bubbles. The animation does its job. The characters move pretty well, and there aren't any noticeable errors. The animation is probably at its best in the theme song. Speaking of which, I really like this theme song. It sounds like a modern musician sang over the Clarence theme. I admit that's an awful way to describe it, but it's the best I got. Just give the theme a listen if you haven't yet. I think it's definitely worth your time. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, the Loud House looks pretty good overall. There are certainly better looking shows out now, but this show manages to look fast and unique. The Loud House can be pretty funny at times. Lincoln and his sisters bounce off of each other pretty well, creating some good humor. I even found myself laughing at Luann, whose thing is that she makes really bad jokes. There are a few jokes that you've seen in other shows. For instance, the episode Link or Swim takes a couple of jokes from that Simpsons episode where they get a pool, then it turns into a Rear Window parody which has 1960s labor crisis jokes, and then it ends like this.
The summer wind came blowing in from across the sea.
Yeah, classic Simpsons was weird. Most of the humor is pretty clever, but every once in a while, someone on the writing team throws in a poop joke. This is a modern Nickelodeon show after all, so they had to be put in somewhere. But if you're disappointed by this fact, there are also a few subtle adult jokes too.
You know, I'm noticing a complete lack of balls in this room. No soccer balls, no footballs, no baseballs, no balls.
Heh, balls. The jokes are helped by the delivery of the voice actors. All of the characters have voices that suit their personalities well, with the exception of the twins Lola and Lana, whose voices are very high-pitched and grating on the ears. Even child actor Grant Palmer does a great job as Lincoln, although I don't like the smug look of his IMDb picture. What are you hiding, Grant? To be honest, I can't think of much more to say about The Loud House. It's a very simple show, which I think is its greatest strength and weakness. The show's simplicity allows the viewer to connect and relate with the characters and situations. If you've ever had to live with a sibling or a roommate, you can still relate to the everyday struggles the characters face, like fighting for the last pizza slice. But although The Loud House strives to be relatable, it can be very predictable as well. I've seen most of these plots before, and they're presented without any twists. There isn't enough about the Loud House to make it completely stand out from the other slice-of-life cartoons. It isn't really funny or really heartfelt. It's just really relatable. And while being relatable is nice, I look for a bit more in cartoons. Will it get better? Probably, but right now there isn't quite enough here that makes me want to start following this show. This does not make the Loud House bad, far from it. The Loud House may just be the best cartoon currently airing on Nickelodeon. It's got likable characters, a unique art style and animation, and can be pretty funny at times. But it's nothing you've probably seen before, and it plays it pretty safe. The Loud House is a good show, and I think it's deserving of a 7.5 out of 10. The Loud House shows that Nickelodeon is continuing to get themselves out of their current rough patch. If they just cancel their mediocre cartoons and sitcoms, then they could have a chance to compete with Cartoon Network. It gets me interested to see what Nickelodeon's next cartoon will be. Let's check out the pilot for it now.
He was a boy and now he's not. He was a boy and now he's not. He was a boy and now he's a winner. He was a boy and now he's not. He was a boy and now he's not. He was a boy. He's became a
It's time to board the hype train. Choo choo.